Devil May Cry has been an exciting prospect since the first video game right up to the recently released Netflix series. More than the dynamic storyline and action-packed narrative, what appeals to us more is the prospect of two different worlds clashing and coexisting, the world of humans and the world of demons. Dante and Vergil are two key characters in almost all versions of Devil May Cry, and these charismatic brothers are known for their Devil Trigger modes that bring out the true extent of their superpowers. Even the Netflix series has not shied away from their Devil Trigger moments, and the earlier games have also utilized them quite well. In this video, we'll bring you every version of Dante and Vergil's Devil Trigger and the characteristics associated with them. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What exactly is the Devil Trigger? For those of you who don't have a clear idea about the Devil May Cry universe, let us first explain what this Devil Trigger thing really is. It's basically a special power that is possessed by demons and hybrids, and this allows them to utilize their real inner supernatural potential. In this mode, some of the characters take on demonic forms, and in this form, the physical and magical attributes of the character are enhanced. It's almost like an update on their normal abilities, and it's available for a particular time period. This is quite relevant in the gameplay as well. And on higher difficulties, enemies start to enter Devil Trigger after a very short period based on the enemy type. Most of the characters use Devil Trigger to transform into a demon, and their various stats are immediately boosted, such as their speed and strength. There are visual changes as well, and even their voice changes into something deeper and distorted. This ability is confirmed to be available to Dante, Sparda, Trish, Vergil, Lucia, and Nero. Now that the basics are sorted, let us turn our focus into each of the versions of Dante and Vergil's Devil Trigger. Exploring Dante's Devil Trigger forms. The classic Devil Trigger seen in Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, and 4. Dante's half-demon physiology allows him to release his demonic power through the Devil Trigger, and he transforms into a demonic form, as we've discussed above, that amplifies his abilities and powers. The appearance varies throughout the games, but the overall theme remains the same. For instance, in Devil May Cry and Devil May Cry 3, the form is influenced by which devil arm he carries. And in Devil May Cry 2 and 4, Dante has a pair of devil forms that are believed to be his true devil form. In DMC 2, such abilities could even be chosen by selecting the different pieces in the amulet together. The classic Devil Trigger usually transforms Dante into a humanoid demon, who has wings, horns, and glowing red eyes. The basic demon motif remains the same, even though the design slightly varies from one game to another. Sin Devil Trigger, Devil May Cry 2. The Sin Devil Trigger was first introduced in Devil May Cry 2, and it was referred to as the Ultimate Devil Mode because it utilized the true devil transformation of the character. In its early introduction in Devil May Cry 2, the Sin Devil Trigger was only available to Dante, but both Dante and Vergil could use this in Devil May Cry 5. This version of Dante bears resemblance to his previous transformation into Sparda, but it is somewhat more bestial in nature. There are large ram-like horns on the head, and a second smaller set extend from the top. In this state, Dante has reptilian feet and 4 bat-like wings that are darker than the body. He also wields retractable red spikes in his forearms, and this is somewhat similar to the demonic needles used by Mundus. The Sin Devil Trigger appearance of Dante slightly changes in Devil May Cry 5, and here the horns are longer and this version has 2 pairs of wings. Also, the chest and head glow with incandescent orange, and the entire body is covered in demonic flames. The Sin Devil Trigger is activated in Devil May Cry 2 when Dante uses his Devil Trigger with his health below 10%. And the form, once activated, cannot be cancelled manually. Dante becomes invulnerable, and his attacks are more impactful with a greater speed and enhanced physical strength. This is commonly regarded as Dante's most powerful transformation to date. Even Vergil has a Sin Devil Trigger version that has 4 wings folded down in a manner similar to that of the tail of Vergil's coat. He has blue arm-mounted blades, and also a thick reptilian tail with a barbed tip that extends from between his shoulders. Vergil's Sin Devil Trigger makes his head appear as a traditional samurai helmet, and the horns assume a tube-like shape that can emit demonic energy like an exhaust. The color scheme of his body, however, differs from his brother Dante. In Devil May Cry 5, the Sin Devil Trigger is one of Vergil's starting abilities. DMC, Devil May Cry Reboot Devil Trigger version. DMC Devil May Cry is not related to the events of the numbered games and is a reboot of the franchise. Here, the Devil Trigger of Dante is also different from the previous version. Here, Dante uses what seems to be a modified version of the Quicksilver style, a time-controlling style seen in Devil May Cry 3. And this slows down time and causes the world to be washed out with flowing light. His hair turns white and his eyes and coat glow with a blood-red aura. He also leaves behind red footprints whenever his feet touch the ground. The familiar part of this particular Devil Trigger mode is that Dante's minor enemies are all launched into the air, and he unleashes a flurry of aerial combos. He then slams his enemies on the ground, but it's slightly different against the bosses. Here, additional combat options can be selected by using Devil Trigger.
I am like him.
Dante's Devil Trigger, seen in Netflix's Devil May Cry. In the 4th episode of Netflix's Devil May Cry, titled All Hope Abandoned, Dante and Enzo find themselves on Bane's hijacked plane, along with some other hostages. Dante is doubtful about the fact that Sparda is his father, but his fight with Agni and Rudra changes his perspective. It starts off rather poorly for him, as they almost toy with him before his Devil Trigger mode is activated. He's severely wounded and repeatedly mocked by them as they refer to his past life, where his entire family was killed. They also mock his father Sparda and his powers ineffective in front of them, and Dante almost passes out before the Devil Trigger version is activated. He then stops a blow from Agni and kills him with his own sword. In this mode, the regenerative healing ability seems to be rather accelerated because he's able to ignore all his previous injuries. One of his arms that he uses to stop the blow from Agni turns into a demonic extension, with long fingers, and it looks different from the rest of his body. The speed of his attacks increase several times, and so do his reflexes as he dodges the attacks of Agni before impaling him with his sword. This is a key moment in the show because it leads to Dante acknowledging for the first time that Sparda might actually be his father, much to the excitement of Enzo. Exploring Vergil's Devil Trigger forms. Vergil and Dante are brothers with many similar abilities, and this means that their Devil Trigger forms also bear resemblance to one another. While Dante has some of the coolest Devil Trigger moments in the games and the Netflix series, Vergil is not too far behind. In this segment, we'll be looking at some of his finest Devil Trigger forms. Classic Devil Trigger, seen in Devil May Cry 3 and Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. The most classic version of Devil Trigger seen in Vergil appears to be somewhat sleeker and more samurai-like than Dante. He exudes blue energy and is masked, and his spectral armored look is super cool. While it's not so prominent in Dante, each of the weapons like Yamato, Force Edge, and Beowulf alter his Devil Trigger appearance ever so slightly. Nelo Angelo in Devil May Cry 1. When the Prince of Darkness and the overarching villain of the Devil May Cry franchise, Mundus, enslaves Vergil, the elder son of Sparda, a demon is created by the name of Nelo Angelo. This serves as the primary rival for Dante in Devil May Cry. The primary body of Nelo Angelo is a heavy olive green colored armor that has blue pulsating lines running across it. Depending on the damage sustained by Nelo Angelo, they fluctuate in color and reflect his current state. He also gets a badass helmet that is engraved with a humanoid face with flowing orange eyes. His helmet has red and blue horns emerging from the top, and it adds to the overall look of his face. The other aspects of Nelo Angelo's appearance include a pointed chestplate and greaves with spiked knee pad. He also carries a massive broadsword that erupts with a fiery blue aura during his attack. When Vergil's true face is revealed during Nelo Angelo's final fight with Dante, it reveals pale white skin and blue veins accompanied by pupilless red eyes. The personality of Nelo Angelo is similar to that of Vergil, but it's a bit more subdued. He's an honorable fighter, and fights those who are aware of his presence, preventing any surprise attacks. He also has the same cocky nature as Vergil, and is known for taunting his opponents. His sword slashes are deadly, and so are his explosive azure blasts. In this form, he's capable of teleporting great distances, and this version is entirely created by Mundus in his weakened state. He removed the human heart, will, and ego because Mundus saw them as weaknesses, but Vergil continued to resist inside Nelo Angelo and tried to gain a hold of himself from the control of the Devil Emperor. We've loved this corrupted version of Vergil, and it's safe to say that this version is as close to one of his Devil Trigger modes as it gets. Vergil's Devil Trigger in Devil May Cry 5. We've already spoken briefly about this version in the video while exploring Dante's Sin Devil Trigger, and many fans and in-game files refer to this as the true form of Vergil's Ascended Devil Trigger. He's transformed into the true devil, and just like Dante, his speed, attack power, and defense is bolstered significantly. In his Sin Devil Trigger mode, Vergil cannot fly, but it does regenerate his vitality in the game, even though it happens at a slower rate than Dante. This can be cancelled at any time, and this tall, winged, and imposing version of Vergil is usually visually smaller than Dante's Sin Devil Trigger. In this state, he can produce blue-colored energy shockwaves, and this can impact the nearby enemies. Another cool feature of Vergil's Sin Devil Trigger is that he can still summon the Doppelganger in this mode, and it increases his damage output considerably. The Doppelganger, however, cannot copy Vergil's super attacks, and simply disappears if one of them is activated.
It's not too late. Yes, it is.
Vergil's Devil Trigger in DMC Devil May Cry Reboot. The Reboot DMC also features Vergil in Devil Trigger, just like his brother Dante. He can go into this mode as long as he has his pendant, and in this state, Vergil exudes a ghostly blue aura. It also enhances his speed, power, and vitality regeneration, just like Dante. But the most unique part is the generation of a shadowy doppelganger instead of slowing time. This is clearly inspired by the doppelganger style from the original series, and Vergil here can cause a delay between his attacks and the response of the doppelganger. The gameplay, as well as the cutscenes, show Vergil activating his Devil Trigger mode by plunging Yamato into the ground. Vergil's Devil Trigger mode in the Netflix series. Vergil's appearance at the end of the Netflix series is almost a game changer, and it sets up a potential Season 2 perfectly. It starts off with a group of demons held up in a well-guarded facility. Then suddenly, explosions are heard and the guards are soon seen lying around, killed by something ultra-powerful. Then appears Vergil in his Devil Trigger mode, towering over the rest. He has red glowing horns and an armored body that exudes a blue aura that we've seen so often with Vergil. He exclaims that Mundus has freed him from his own bondage, and the other prisoners owe their freedom to King Mundus. He then changes into his more human-like form, and this looks much like Dante, except in a new uniform. There's a chance that this particular Devil Trigger mode is courtesy of King Mundus corrupting him, and this does remind us of Nelo Angelo. Many of the fans have also remarked that the Devil Trigger form is slightly similar to the appearance of Nelo Angelo that we've discussed already in this video. Marvelous verdict. Devil Trigger is perhaps the coolest trait in the DMC universe. Yes, the storylines are fascinating for the animated adaptations, and the gameplay is stunning for almost all the Devil May Cry games, but it wouldn't be all so memorable without the presence of this Devil Trigger mode. It's easily among the most badass parts of the narrative, where the protagonist transforms into a deadlier version of himself. Not to mention the Devil Trigger is almost always visually stunning, which means that it leaves a special impact on the fans. We hope to see further modifications in the Devil Trigger mode going forward, and for both Dante and Vergil, it would be intriguing to find out more details about their shortcomings as well in this state. Do let us know in the comments below what you think about the iconic Devil Trigger from the Devil May Cry franchise. Also, share your views on the epic transformation of Dante and Vergil that we see in the Netflix series. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.